channel. My name is Erica, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 20 eyeshadow palettes out of my collection that I think are perfect for Halloween. Now, some of these palettes, it's more so the packaging that I think says Halloween, but also the color stories say Halloween too. And then other palettes, it's just straight up color story that I think remind me of Halloween, or I think would be perfect to put an eye look together for Halloween. And I did not rank these palettes. No, I did not, because ranking is not always easy for me to do, and I just didn't feel like going through the whole ranking shenanigan part of my life. So I'm just going to be showing you guys these palettes and talking to you guys about why I think they're perfect for Halloween. So let me start off with the palette that I do have on my eyelids today, and this is the Notoriously Morbid Mystery Ink palette. Now, I had not used this yet. This is the first time I've ever used this palette. I've had it in my collection for longer than I care to admit, but isn't it just the cutest packaging? It's the mystery ink van from Scooby-Doo, and I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. I don't know if you guys are, but I am. I used to pretend that I was sick on occasion when I was younger so that I could watch the whole episode of Scooby-Doo, because when I would get home from school, there was like 10 minutes left. So I did that like 2 or 3 times. Oh boy. But I think this is a gorgeous color story. I don't know if the color story necessarily says Halloween, but I definitely do think it says Scooby-Doo. And Scooby-Doo has those creepy meddling kids stories. So, you know, I think this matches well with Halloween. And the shades that I use for this look, I use this shade right here in my transition area. This to kind of, I don't know, deepen it up or add some more dimension to it. Then I put this on my outer V, and then I used this shade right here and this shade right here as my shimmer shades. And really fun to put a look together with this palette. I can't believe it's the first time I've used it, because like I said, it's been in my collection for a while. And Notoriously Morbid is a really awesome indie brand. I do have their Rusted Essence palette too, really like that. The shimmer formula in a couple of the shades are a little tricky for me, but do highly recommend checking out this brand because a lot of fun and really beautiful quality and color stories. Number 2 is the Castle of Horror palette from Ladybug Glow. Isn't that just the best spooky Halloween packaging or cover of a palette? And you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a while here, I love this brand. I think this is such a gorgeous color story. I have done 3 looks with this now so far on my channel, and I just think it's perfect. Well, any time of year. I mean, you can wear these palettes any time of the year, but you know, it's Halloween, so I just wanted to think of Halloween type palettes. But I'm really impressed with how this performs, mattes and shimmers. I just think it's so fun. This shade right here called Castle of Horror is my favorite shade in this palette, because if you see, can you see that? It's kind of reddish, and then purple, and then red. There we go. Isn't that cool? And I've had a ton of fun with this palette. Really fun. Just wonderful quality and formula. You need to check out Ladybug Glow if you haven't yet already too. Then I have 2 palettes from Glamlight. The first one is the Scooby-Doo Rut-Roll Raggy palette. I just used this recently. In the collab I just did with Jan and Shawnee, the Hot and Cold collab, I did use shades out of this palette to create my eye look with. And I just love the tones in here. The blues and kind of purpley blues, the teals, the kind of hotter green, but kind of cool green too, I don't know. But really gorgeous. And everything in this palette, I don't know that I've used this shade yet, but I've used all the, or this shade. These 2 shades I have not used yet. Dumb, but I'll remedy that at some point, I promise. But yeah, everything that I've used out of this palette so far works so well. It's just impeccable formula. I love Glamlight. Huge Glamlight fan. And on the day that this is going up on Halloween, the Freddy Krueger collection's coming out. I'm gonna have to get some of that collection. I won't get the whole thing, but some of it. Oh, I love it. And then the next Glamlight palette I have is the Creeps and Crawls Scooby-Doo palette. And both of the packaging of both of these palettes, super cute. And I think I might like this color story better than the last palette I just showed you. Just, these are my kind of tones, like the purples and blues and teals all together in here. But the other palette's got a gorgeous color story too. And the formula, I would say, is exactly the same in both palettes. Very nice, very good quality. Really fun to put looks together with both of the palettes. And then I thought about maybe an all matte palette for Halloween. And so I pulled out the Dose of Colors Blushing Berries palette that my friend Avita sent to me. And I have yet to use this palette. Dumb. But I think this says Halloween. You know, we've got the blacks and kind of the wineish, reddish, bloodish tones. Okay, I'll try to keep it together for the duration of this video, but no promises. I'm really excited to try this palette at some point. I'm going to leave this sitting on my desk so that I'll use it soon. And of course you can pull in a shimmer, shimmer shade out of any palette that you so choose, or maybe a single shimmer that you have in your collection to maybe add some sparkliness to an all matte look, but if you're doing an all matte look, you wouldn't want to add sparkly. Anyway, I think this palette does say Halloween, and I'm really looking forward to trying it eventually. Then we have the Over the Moon palette from Saints, Angels, Sinners, and this definitely says Halloween. It's kind of like a Halloween moon. And I do think this color story says Halloween. You know, we've got some really fun Halloween-y colors in here, especially this orange shade. You know, like if you're thinking of traditional black and orange Halloween colors. But there's a lot of fun in here. Even though it's a 6-pan palette, there's a lot of different options, I feel like, and you can do a lot of different things. And I do think that, like, you know, for Halloween looks, depending on what your costume is, you don't just have to stick to like grays and blacks and silvers. You can jazz it up with some really pretty colors too. And this definitely has the pretty colors. And I love the formula and the consistency and the quality of the shades in here. Saints, Angels, Sinners creates beautiful eyeshadow palettes. I will have their website linked in my description box too. Then for maybe a more traditional Halloween look, maybe we have the Blow and Smoke from ColourPop. And I just used this for the first time with Andy and Leanna. We did a collab video celebrating Ash, Makeup and Chaos's birthday. And I love this palette. This is one of Ash's favorite palettes. I think it's their favorite ColourPop palette, I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know, one of their favorites. And everything that I used worked so well. And it's got these great options in here to do a really lovely gradient from light to dark, dark to light, you know, however you look at that. And this black matte is absolutely stunning. I love the charcoal-y shimmers in here. This bright silver shimmer is just amazing. You know, really fun to put a look together with this. And, you know, I know that this isn't everyone's speed or everyone's happy place, but I just fell in love with this. I'm so glad I finally used it. Then I have 2 palettes from Fatal Beauty, and I just won both of these palettes in a giveaway from Avita as well. And Fatal Beauty is another indie brand that I'm super jazzed about. This is the Frankenslay palette. And I did use this palette in that video where I talked about what I won in my giveaway. Look at the packaging. I mean, if that doesn't say Halloween, I don't know what else does. It's just so cool. I love cool artwork on the front of palettes. I love that. And really a fun color story. 6 shades, but again, you got so many cool options in here. And this is a pressed glitter. If you guys didn't watch that video, I did use a shade right here. It's called Electric. And, you know, it maybe wasn't the easiest shade to apply. I mean, it's a pressed glitter, but it looked amazing. Absolutely amazing. And of course, because I have hooded eyes, the glitter was, you know, pretty boom by the time I got home from work. But you know, it still looked really cool. It really did. And I think if you're wanting like a, I don't know, fun, sparkly, glittery look for your Halloween costume, this shade, is amazing. I also won this palette here. This is the Fatal Beauty Presents Step Right Up Admit One, a Cosmetics Queen production. Cute. Isn't that cute? Looks like a little ticket. And then we have the circus tent on the front of this one, kind of a spooky, haunted circus tent. And I think this is stunning too. 6 shades and six shadows here, but you know, lots of different colorful options. We do have a pressed glitter here. And I think that, like, if you're wanting to do a more colorful Halloween look, you know, yes, there's only 6 shades in here, but because they're so different, I just think that you would have a blast putting a look together with this palette because of all the cool options in here. Not a ton, but enough. And then as I was looking on my shelves back here to try to figure out what other palettes I could pull into this video, this one jumped out at me. This is the She's and Parties from Melt. And I just think this color story would work really well with a lot of different types of Halloween costumes. What I thought of was a costume that my daughter dressed up as when she was, I think, 12, which was a haunted doll. And I did her makeup and her hair, and she had blood coming out of her mouth, and it was so great. I used to love to put together her makeup for her Halloween costumes. Oh, I loved it. And if I'd had this palette then, I would have had a blast with it, creating her eye look with this, and maybe, you know, using this as a blush, or I don't know. But I just think this is a gorgeous, romantic and sort of like eerie color story, depending on what kind of costume you got on. I don't know that I've ever thought of it as an eerie color story until today. But I do think this would work really well with hot Halloween costumes of lots of different sorts. And I've been very impressed with how this palette performs. This is another one I need to use again very soon. Then of course, I had to grab the Nomad Cosmetics Berlin Underground palette, because I do think with the earthy, grungy, vampiness that's in this palette, this would work really well with any kind of Halloween costume as well. You know, maybe more spooky side of the Halloween costumes. I don't know that Buzz Lightyear would walk around with this on his eyelids, but he might. You never know. So I love this eyeshadow palette. This is my favorite Nomad Cosmetics palette. Well, now it might be the Royal Europe, but no, I really do think this is my favorite Nomad Cosmetics palette because I just love the grungy, earthy vampiness of it. Really fun to put a look together with this. This is no longer available. Why? Then, of course, I grabbed the Melt Muerte palette because the packaging alone says Halloween to me. Pretty spooky. And then I also think the color story is lovely for Halloween as well. A lot of beautiful options in here, fun options, a lot of depth in here. I do think this is a romantic, sexy color story. You know, I mean, this would look really good with like a sexy Halloween costume. Now this shade right here, this was called Kaleka. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce that, but this is the only shade in here that I've used that I was kind of like, I don't know. Kind of a strange formula, but everything else I've used in here, I've really enjoyed it. And you know, let's look at the packaging one more time. Halloween! And then I did grab one more melt palette here. This is the Amor y Mariposas palette. I just felt like the front of that does say Halloween. I mean, it's a heart, you know, kind of like Saw or something, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or I don't know, what Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm trying to think of any scary movie that have like gross heart scenes. Those are the three that popped into my head. But I think this color story definitely says Halloween, especially with the oranges and the purples. You know, this is more like right here, this part of the palette, or like maybe these bottom two rows say Halloween more to me than the top two. But I mean, people are so talented and so creative. I mean, I've seen such cool Halloween looks over the past couple of weeks. That I think if you do have that skill set, which I do not have, you could put any kind of color combination together out of this palette and create a beautiful Halloween look. And Andy does stuff. She sent this palette to me and it's extremely special in my collection. I adore this palette. Then we have the Beauty Bay Dark Fantasy palette. And I do think this would be great to put a look together with for Halloween. Now, I love Beauty Bay. I love all the Beauty Bay palettes that I have in my collection. I have several. But the shimmer formula in this palette is not in my top 10. I don't even know if it's in my top 20. It's just a little strange. I haven't used all the shimmers in here yet, though. So, I mean, I'm not really trying to bash all of you, just a couple of you. I will continue to use this palette. I will try all the shimmers in here and then give you a more broad scope answer. But just like this shimmer right here, a little odd. This shimmer right here, a little odd. But the mattes in here, ooh, they're amazing. They blend so well, so pigmented. Love Beauty Bay matte formula. But you know, I just thought this, you know, dark fantasy said Halloween. Then if you want to go all in, you want to grab the Ozzy Osbourne Bat palette from Rock and Roll Beauty. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have heard the Ozzy Osbourne bat story, but he did bite the head off of a live bat in a concert. But isn't that cool? Ozzy! I love Ozzy Osbourne. And this color story is fantastic, I think, and perfect for Halloween. And I really like the quality of the shades in here. I've created some really fun looks with this palette. Really enjoy using this. I almost actually used this today for my look for this video, but I thought, no, use the Mystery Ink palette. You haven't used it yet, but this is really fun. And I want to say that this might still be on the Makeup Revolution website. I'm not positive, but it was on there. I don't know. Well, that was probably a couple months ago was the last time I was on the Makeup Revolution website. So I don't know what I'm saying, but it might be. So maybe go check it out. But I just love having this in my collection. It is so much fun. And like I said, I'm a huge Ozzy fan. Then we have the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. And I think the cover does say Halloween or, you know, spooky. And this also says Halloween to me as well. I mean, I think this would be really fun to pull out and create a Halloween-esque look with this color story. And I know that not everyone likes the neutral options in here, but I do, because I do think it's fun to, you know, especially if you're not super into colorful shadows, you're just kind of starting to get used to using colorful shadows, then you can grab the neutral options and then use a pop of color. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, this part of the palette, like this lower half down here, definitely says Halloween to me. Everything that I've used out of this palette so far works beautifully well. This one right here called Crystal is my favorite shade out of the palette. Stunning. But yeah, I mean, you know, Book of Magic, Halloween, oh yeah. Then we have the Makeup by Lisa Raven's Castle palette. And of course, the packaging of the palette cover definitely says Halloween to me, very spooky and eerie. And then the color story is this just gorgeous, cool toned, magical fantasy in here. Love everything about this palette. Love everything about this brand. This is a UK indie brand that I found through Steph and just fell in love with their palettes. I only have this and one other palette from this brand, and I'd like to get a lot more. These two shadows right here, more topper type shimmers, but they look gorgeous over the top of this black matte. I mean, they look gorgeous anyway, but really fun to put these over the top of the black matte. The taupes in here, this is a beautiful kind of purpley gray shimmer. Oh, really fun. And again, let's admire the spooky cover. I grabbed this one out of my collection to show you guys today in this video as well, obviously. This is the Angel palette from C Color. Now, C Color is no longer available, and all of their palettes dupe more expensive, more high-end palettes, I would say. Maybe not in every case, but most often. And this is duping a KVD palette, I'm pretty sure. And I just thought this color story says Halloween. You know, the black, gray, darker blues, grungy green, the silver, you know, I do think this does say Halloween. And this is another palette I have not used in forever. But I just think this color story is awesome. Really fun. Really cool. And yeah, I really wish that C Color had not gone out of business because I, for one, am cheap. I love to get cheap palettes that work well. Then we have the Martine Cosmetics Triple X or Mission Triple X palette. And I just think this color story says Halloween. You know, there's vibrancy, there's depth, there's grunge, there's vamp, there's sexy. And I don't know, I was just sitting here thinking of all the different costumes that you could pair this eyeshadow palette with. And I came up with several. I don't really want to go down the list of things because this video is long enough. But yeah, I mean, don't you think so? I think so. I love this palette so much. And, you know, this doesn't get enough love in my collection either. But yeah, a wonderful indie brand that creates beautiful eyeshadow palettes. And I do have one more that I'm going to show you. This is the last one. Same brand, Martine Cosmetics. This is the 669 palette. And this packaging, I do think, says Halloween. Or, you know, it's kind of like that old-fashioned looking, almost looks like a coffin. I could see I could open this up and a vampire might pop out of it. And I do think this color story is very Halloween-esque, very mysterious and dark and vampy and sexy. I could definitely see someone wanting to dress up as a vampire using this eyeshadow palette to create their look with it for Halloween. You know, I really can see that. And there's so much duochrome, mysterious, enigmatic shades in here. I just think it does say Halloween to me. Absolutely. And I would love to know if you guys have any of these Martine Cosmetics palettes. I would love to know if you guys have any of these palettes. We can chat about that in the comment section. And let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that I did a good job pulling out 20 palettes that say Halloween, or if I totally missed the mark on these palettes. But I love to do stuff like this. I love to think about what kind of palettes would apply to a certain situation or season or holiday or whatever. It's so much fun. And let me know what you have in your collection that you think says Halloween. We can have a nice Halloween palette love fest conversation in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy, and I'll see you soon. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Bye.
Drop it.